But I don't even know where I left off at.
God bless you in editing this.
So, ladies, we are running out of time. So I'm going to put these last two questions into one. And I'm curious, do you invest? And if so, where? And how are you preparing for retirement?
I can go first. That's a lot. Okay. So yes, I do invest. And then in terms of where and how I invest, I have a brokerage account that basically allows me to invest in a variety of index funds. And so my strategy isn't really to take like a high risk approach to investing. All about diversification. And so I invest in a variety of index funds that basically map the S&P 500. The stock market has shown really consistent returns over the past 50 years. And so my strategy is just to kind of map the market. And there's nothing really fancy about it. So I'm all about index funds that are low cost, that really allow me to, really get the gains that the market is experiencing over time. And so that's where most of my investments go. And then I also have maybe about 10% of my portfolio in higher risk investments. And those are higher risk because they're not as diversified, but I'm making, bets on tech companies that I'm really familiar with or consumer brands that I love and trust. And so that's how I'm investing there. And in terms of how I'm preparing for retirement, I'm really leaning in on the investment income that I hope to get from all of these index funds that I've been investing in. So I'm just, going very slow and steady. We, invest 65% into the market every month. And my plan, I kind of mapped it out just in terms of, where we think we're going to go and what our actual retirement number is. And we just plan to that. So that's my plan for retirement, is to hopefully live off of the returns from the stock market.
Nice.
So Cola, that's 65% of your total income.
Yes.
Whew.
So Bukola, you mentioned brokerage accounts. So for anybody who ends up watching this, they're like, what is that? Are you talking like going through something like Vanguard and you set up account, then you invest into the S&P 500 every month? Is that what you mean by brokerage account? Or
yeah. So Fidelity has brokerage accounts that you can open up. So does Vanguard. I work with Vanguard because, they're tried and true. They have a great reputation. They have really awesome, high performing, low cost funds that you can invest into. And I think it is helpful to do it every month so that you get the gains on a monthly basis versus investing in larger tranches over a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we do. And I use Robinhood for the higher risk tech stocks. Yeah. I know Robinhood's gone through some controversy recently, but I just haven't had the time to switch over to Fidelity. But for now it's working. It's really, really easy to use app. And so I use that to invest in, the FANG stocks. And I'm probably going to invest in Bitcoin at some point, probably get into some crypto.
Nice. What about you, Chana?
I actually am not a big investor, so I'm listening as they're talking. It's not been one of the ways that I've managed my money. I've been more of a saver, which I feel like is the first step, but absolutely part of my retirement strategy is also investing. So next step for me, but I am very much in the beginner stage.
Me too. I'm finally finishing up this book. It's taking me longer than it should have. I was supposed to read this shit when we was in Mexico, but I didn't. But I think Jack Bogle is the guy who started Vanguard, isn't he? So yeah, I've been reading this, taking my notes and shit, you see. And they're basically talking about matching the market, like the S&P 500, and doing it the more conservative way, which I feel more comfortable with because I don't feel like I know enough about investing to jump into anything crazy. So this year, I have like a list of books that I'm going to read before end of year, and then that's when I'm going to start investing in the stock market, specifically S&P 500 and maybe some REITs. So yeah. What about you, Bria?
Yeah, so I'm kind of all over the board, right? So like just much like Bacola, mutual funds, index funds, primarily index funds, right? But I'm also I like to play around, and I wouldn't consider myself a day trader by any means, but I definitely like to throw a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, see what happens, pull it out, it's just fun. I mean, like, because I was laughing, but I'm just like, it's just fun, right? I mean, if you got the money to spend, right? Like, let's just have some fun with it and see what happens, right? And it's like that thrill of making like a few $100 or $1,000 that in that day. You're like, ooh, let's do it again, It's like, it's not a lot of money by any means. I'm not gonna retire off of that, but it's just like the thrill of it all. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah, I just play around with it a lot. I was super excited because I bought into AMC when it was 6-3, I think, and I was just like, oh, 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 and I had 500 shares of AMC at 6-3, so I was like, sell. I was, and I do this over E-Trader, by the way. So over E-Trade, So I don't use Robinhood. I've never used Robinhood, not for any particular reason. I just have never tried it out, right? But I mean, I had those exciting moments, right? It was just like, and all of that was by way of a company that was rumored to purchase AMC Entertainment.
Okay.
And that's what made me purchase AMC back in November, October, something like that of last year. And it was like 6-3. I was like, okay, bought some stuff. And then it just did its fizzle, much like GameStop did its thing.
Right.
Which is why Robinhood, we all know Robinhood today because of that whole thing, right? So I'm one of those. It's like, yes, I put money, strategically and in a very sound manner into, index funds like Bucola, mutual funds, yes. In the UK, we have pensions still, right? So putting your money there. But I also like to have fun money. And my fun money goes towards, prime example, I recently put money into Bubble. And that is not doing well for me at all. I was like, oh, Bumble, that makes sense, virtual dating in the pandemic. Yes. And I bought in a 74 share. I don't remember how many shares I bought, but right now I think it's like 47 a share. And I bought in it in December on IPO, December 9th on IPO.
Just IPO'd? They just IPO'd?
They IPO'd December last year, yeah. So
right.
And it was 74 a share at IPO. So I bought in a few. It was not a few. It was a fair amount of shares. I won't say how many. Fair amount of shares. Thinking like, oh yes, this makes sense. Virtual dating, it's like we're in a pandemic. Ain't nobody seeing nobody. Yeah, and now it's like 47 a share. I'm like, like I've lost a lot. I've lost a lot there. But it's like, it's for me, that's a thrill, right? It's like, if you don't have the money to invest, then don't invest it. Like, rather, let me retract that statement. If you don't have the money to lose, don't invest it. So,
let me interject right here. For whoever ends up watching this, what Bria is doing is not considered like traditional investing. This is gambling that she's doing. Bria, when you put your money into the stock market, you're
wait, whoa, cut cameras. Hold on now, bitch. Okay, wait a minute now. Cut cameras. Stop recording or cut this shit out, bitch. I'm not gambling.
Bria, that is considered like if you read some of these investment books, that is gambling.
I'm saying. We're not gonna sit here. We're gonna end this shit right now. Don't make me press end. I will leave this whole right now. But no, I'm not gambling. No.
I'm saying on one end you are investing, and on the other end with your fund.
You cannot put that in there. You cannot put that in there. No, you cannot put in there that I'm gambling. No, you cannot put that in there.
Why not? Day trading is basically gambling. Traditional investing is for the long run. It's
but
not
for the novice person who doesn't understand anything about trading whatsoever, they're gonna hear the term gambling and think like, "Oh, she's gambling." No, it's not. That's not what that is.
okay. Then how do you want it worded?
Passion investing.
Huh?
I'm passionately investing in places and things that I love and enjoy.
But Bria, how do we convey that so people don't think that it is gambling? Because somebody can say, "Oh, well,
all investments are gambling."
but it's not if it's long term.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Wherever you put your money in a mutual fund, an index, any investments are gambling.
Stock markets inherently go up and down, right? So I actually think that's a fair statement, one that Bria just made, because stock markets inherently go up and down. So if you take the 2008 or 2000, 2008, 2009 financial crisis, Lehman Brothers fell in October 2008.
Right.
My dad was thinking about retiring, and he was like, "Well, all that money that I've been saving in my very stable broker, like mutual accounts for 20 years, that's wiped. Like that has now done this.
Right.
So I have to now work longer and make different choices to recoup to retire the way I want."
Yeah.
So I think what is a way I would position this, Tiara, is like investing is inherently unstable because you do not know what the stock market is going to do. And it is only over the long term that it is understood that your investments are likely going to pan out.
Right.
But there can be anything that happens that will shift the market. But if you do what I have traditionally done, which is outside of a 401k and like an IRA, like you're not investing, you're basically putting money under a mattress with a very low interest rate. So like, so that's the difference. Like the money that I save that I'm not spending is there. It accrues a very small interest rate that sometimes is up when the economy is better and is right now crap. But it's not building me any wealth. It's just me putting money into a box. So I think the message for those that are in like myself, like early investors thinking about what to do is like, it's a long-term game that most likely will benefit you in the long run.
Right.
But the stock market goes stock market. You know, I love the phrase, the stock market is astrology for white men. Like, we don't know what it's going to do on a day-to-day basis. You really don't. So I think that's a really important context. What Bria is doing is more risky than what Bacola described, but they're both very much a part of investment strategies.
Right. And Bria did also say, though, if you don't have the money to lose, you don't put it into the stock market, which is very true. So invest, but if you are worried about losing money, you can't be out here thinking you're investing or want to hurry up and pull out because you think something is going down. Yes, I will cut this in a way where it's going to be funny, but gets the point across, Bria. Because I'm just thinking like,
I definitely cut that shit though, because I was like, I'm not telling people to like go gamble. Like Chana's over here cracking up. I'm not telling motherfuckers to go like gamble. Like
no, I know you're not, but I'm saying
no, we could have definitely got off into the whole like, you know, Dave Ramsey, you know, $1,000 here. Don't invest until you have this. So, you know, we could have definitely could have gone that way.
No, I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to go the natural way, which is how we're talking now. But the older people that I know who think of investing or putting something in the stock market, they literally think automatically it is gambling, no matter what way you do. So if they hear one part like, oh, this person's leaving this in here, you know, over the long term, but then you also have another person here who's saying, you know, they use money to put it in or, you know, sell at a quicker rate, then I think it's confusing. Like it makes those people who already thought it was gambling think it is gambling. And so I was basically trying to say, I don't want them to think of it as gambling just because you have extra money to also do fun money in the investing versus long-term investing. Do you see what I mean?
That's fair, but I also think it's a wider conversation as well.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Are you doing one on investing?
No, I haven't, because I don't know anything about investing. I don't know what questions to ask you guys.
Have definitely
Cola gonna have to lead it because I don't know about investing.
Because like now we're off the rails, but like I think about like my RSUs from Amazon, which are underutilized because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do with them. So they're like they're holding money for me right now. but they're underutilized. And Amazon's stock is not going to sit where it is right now for a long time. So it's like, I got to get my crap together to optimize on what I have in a value perspective. But I absolutely wouldn't want to enter into that with just like, let me go read a post on a website and figure it out. Like, I would want people I trust to talk about it.
Right.
So I think it's worth having a full spectrum, because I frankly think, yes, a lot of people use brokerage, but I don't think our white counterparts are relying on brokerage. Like, I don't. So I think it's like, it's a good session to have, because I think like that's not something we talk about in our community. And we do hear it as gambling, because it's not sure. It's not, I understand that framing now that you explained it. We do hear it as gambling because we're like, but you can lose it.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but you got to balance the risk against what can be lost. And you can't, it's a long game. You know, starting to invest at 65, 70, probably not worth, the juice not going to be worth the squeeze probably, but in your 30s and 40s and possibly into your 50s, yeah.
Right. And like you said, with risk, Bria is more willing to take on risks than other people are willing to take on risks. Some people are more risk adverse than other people. And Bria happens not to be a super risk adverse person. So like, I guess, yeah, there needs to be a follow-up because.
Yeah. And when is it appropriate to invest, right? Like, I haven't done it, but I have the money that if I chose to be more risky, which is not really my bag, but if I chose to do that, that's fine. Because I have the saved money that I could do that. Other people who are like, I want to get into this, but I only have so much room. Right. They need to take a different approach, right? Because they need to first build it to then have the playground. And so there's a lot of richness just in the whole investment discussion.
There is.
That's true. And I think there's another point to be made about Brea, and like also what I'm doing too. Like, it sounds like she is just taking a portfolio approach to this, and a certain percentage of what she invests is fund money. And it sounds like most of her investing activities are fairly, moderate to conservative, right? And so that's what a lot of our white counterparts are doing. They maybe have a slice in cryptocurrency, maybe 1% to 2% of their portfolios in crypto. Another 10%, they may be doing something similar to what Brea is doing. And then, the rest is either in real estate or in a traditional index fund.
Right. And another good thing to what Brea is doing too is that you have to understand that scared money doesn't make money. If you're not willing to take risks on anything, you're most likely not going to get shit. So if she didn't look at AMC back in 2020 and say, oh, let's try this out, she wouldn't have got the money once AMC went up to, what is it now, like 40 something bucks? Exactly. But somebody
I cashed out when it went to 60.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah. So I made 34 in a day.
That's awesome.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, before we close this out, Chana, Brea, you didn't say how you are preparing for retirement. That's going to close us out.
Oh, I don't have a good answer to that. I know. It's like, 401k, I don't have a sophisticated answer to that.
So are you just matching what your employer is? Are you putting in what the employer matches?
Yes, I put in what the employer matches. I'm starting like some IRA stuff. Like, I'm doing some other stuff, but essentially, yeah.
What about you, B?
Kind of same, I guess. It's like, I guess I'm kind of a bet on myself type girl. So, yes, there's obviously money in 401k. It's like I said, here in the UK, there's pensions. And now that I've been with 2 different companies in the UK, I have 2 different pensions because I can't roll them together, and then I also have 2 different 401ks in the US and IRAs in the US. And so there's, it's just your typical investment into retirement funds. But as far as I'm concerned, like, I have my own plan.
Okay. I like
And I have a very entrepreneurial spirit, as you ladies know. And it's like, I definitely have been taking, this is the one thing. Don't take money for anybody that's watching this and knows absolutely nothing about 401ks and, pensions, which are long dead in the US, but exist in other parts of the world. Let's just say 401ks, and don't take early withdrawals from your 401k. Please know that they're heavily taxed federally. You could be paying upwards of 20-30% tax just to withdraw from your 401k. Don't do that. Please leave that money there. Figure out other ways of making money, investing money, or getting money for whatever you need. But I'll say that, I've definitely found ways to make money to put into IRAs that have been generous to me and making me money, so that I can then pull out to invest and with no penalty or less penalty, and then invest into other business ventures that I'm looking into. But that's the goal. That is the end goal. The end goal for me, I'll put it on record. My goal is to retire by 2026. So by then I'll be 40. I'm 35 right now. The plan is to retire by 40 by way of grinding and different investments I'm making in entrepreneurship ventures. That's the goal.
Awesome. So for me, investing will be preparing for retirement has been putting in whatever my employer matches. Every year I've had it go up by 2%. So I think we're at like 3 or 4 matching at my company now. It was up to 7% before we pulled back so we could pay off all of our debt. Now we're putting it back there. I'm going to let it go up until it gets to about 15% and then leave it at that. And then we're also looking into S&P 500, of course, some REITs, and then soon we will be buying some property, buying multifamily properties, renting out one side, living on one side for a couple of years, and then taking the equity out of the property, buying another one, renting out, and then do that over and over and over. So that is the plan here, putting in some real estate. And yeah,
but you gotta be like, you gotta tell the whole story though, Tiara. You're buying real estate. Where you're buying real estate?
In Seattle.
Oh, word.
We will be. Oh, but are you talking about out of country? That is also a plan. Yes, that is also a plan. But as far as duplex is concerned, we're going to do it here in Washington.
Okay.
So thank you, ladies, for your time on all this. This is some good information. But yes, editing is about to be a bitch, probably. We'll see. But it's going to be good. These videos are always good. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys' time, your information, the knowledge, like being able to spread this information to other people that look like us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Any closing words?
Thank you.
Anybody? Any closing words? Any closing statements?
I have one on retirement. I just think it's really important for folks to have a plan. Traditionally in the US, I think people hope that the 401k will be enough, or that Social Security will be enough, and it simply isn't. And I think over 60% of Americans are not on track with their retirement planning today. So it's important to build out a multi-pronged plan to get yourself to retirement and to be super intentional about it. Because for me, it's something I'm super fearful about, like looking at myself as an older woman and just not being able to live the kind of lifestyle that I'm living right now. So it's just super important. It should be a combination of your 401k, hopefully some side investments that you're making in the stock market, Social Security, if it's still around, and maybe real estate or REITs. But you definitely need to have a plan. This is not something that you can put off and hope that things work out. So.
So Chana, if you want to go, or
I'm like, that was very well said. Well, my thing is everyone starts their financial journey in a different place. And I think Tiara's actually mentioned this in her other videos, but I think it's important to restate it here, especially because I think there's a lot of shame in having debt, or it used to be until everyone was like, but for real though, I went to college and that's what's starting me on my debt journey, or whatever the case may be. And while I was fortunate not to have debt coming out of college, I can't say enough. It doesn't mean that I was always making the right financial decisions. And it doesn't mean that I was thinking about my finances in the right way. It just means I'm not starting in a hole. So there could be some of you that you feel like I'm in a well. And I think we just got a lot of good examples on how to get out of that well. But if you're not in a well, you're just like, well, I'm fine. You're not. Like to Nicole's point, you have to plan for the future. You have to plan for your retirement. And I'm a big like analysis paralysis person, and get yourself out of that too. Like you have to start building it. And it's okay if you start in a really small way just to figure out what you want to do and take it from there. But you have to start.
Yeah, and I'll just follow up with that, just between Chana and Bacola's points there. I guess I just really didn't get serious about being debt free until I realized that somebody else was dependent on me. And so, with that said, it wasn't just about Bria, like, you know, being debt free to do all the things she wanted to do. It was more about an older person who happens to be a parental who's depending on her to help in all ways, right? Financially, that I really got serious about, like, okay, my finances. And so when I'm thinking about retirement and getting, you know, to that place of like, you know, I call it freedom, right? You know, it's not just me, it's her too, you know. So to Bacola's point, it's not just about like Social Security, because I mean, I'm looking at my mother and her Social Security is waning as we speak. Like month to month, it's starting to get less and less. So I'm like, yo, like she's only 64, going on 65. Like I'm 35. There's going to be nothing for me at 35. There's no way. No way. I mean, she's getting a few $100s per month now. There's no way there's going to be anything for me 30 years later from now, right? You know, so just getting very serious about don't rely on what could possibly be or what could potentially be for you, right? You know, make sure that you're setting a path forward so that you are financially free in the way that you identify as being financially free, and creating that now so that when you get 20, 30, 40 years out from now, I hope that these types of conversations are obsolete in a way, so that, you know, we're not talking about like how to budget, how to, you know, it's more of like, you know, I did that. I'm good, right? You know, that's what I hope to see. But you know, it's very telling for me, at least, because it's not just me. So then it's like, what decisions am I making today to make sure that I am helping not just me but her? But then also, I want to see her live in a, not just in the literal sense, but live like a carefree, joyful life. And then in turn, for me to benefit off of that, to also live my life as well. So whatever decisions I'm making today, I've got to make sure they are manifesting the destiny in all of this. So I'll leave it there.
Hell yeah, that was a good closing. Like, and Bria, outside of your mom, like a mother could think that, because it could be the opposite. Like you have someone else to live for. So I feel like a lot of moms can relate to that too. And last thing that I will say, ditto to everything everyone has said here, but you don't have to have a lot of money in order to invest, in order to have a nice retirement. Just start early, start as early as possible. If you're seeing this now, start as soon as you can, as soon as you have enough information where you feel comfortable getting started. Because I feel like if I would have started investing when I first started Amazon 5 years ago, I would be somewhere very well off where I probably wouldn't even be at work right now, 5 years later, if I would have put a certain amount of my paycheck toward investing or toward getting out of debt immediately when I started working in corporate America. So you don't have to have a lot of money to start investing, and you don't have to put away a lot of money every paycheck in order to see a good retirement in the future. Especially if you're going long term with some of your accounts, you'll be amazed at how much things compound over time. So yeah, thank you ladies for all this information. I appreciate you guys. This was a good talk.
A great talk. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.